Hmm. So, deep bow and welcome everyone who's here. This is our part 11 of our Buddhist book club. So, we've been gathering together for the past 2 weeks or so, a little bit more than that, to almost 3 weeks now, right? To practice together this community study and reading and discussion of Thich Nhat Hanh's book entitled Fear, Wisdom for Getting Through the Storm. And I thought today that it might be nice to just check in and see how everyone has been finding the book and if it's impacted them or anything that has stood out to them so far about the book, or also about the format and the way that we practice this together. So it's open to maybe just a little bit of sharing before we get into our reading today, if anyone feels inspired to share.
Book amazing. The last time I talked about like the microaggressions and stuff, and people chimed in, and um, I've been able to um, view things differently, and it's more than not taking it personally. It's really like seeing where people are coming from with the idea of the fear behind how people react. And so I've been thinking about, like, when you talk about solid as a tree and then the branches and the leaves being like that, a lot of people's core trunk is actually fear, and that the branches and the leaves is everything that you're also seeing. So everything is manifesting from this core of fear. So I've been able to really put that into a perspective, and it's helped. It's helped me. I don't know if it's helped the situation much, but it's helped me just see them differently. That's all. So, yeah, I find this to be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. Okay, so let's get right into it. Transforming fear into love. The four mantras. the 4 mantras. We have a great habitual fear inside ourselves. We are afraid of many things, of our own death, of losing our loved ones, of change, of being alone. The practice of mindfulness or present moment awareness helps us to touch non-fear. It's only here and now that we can experience total relief, total happiness. Sorrow, fear, and depression are like a kind of garbage, but these bits of garbage are a part of real life, and we must look deeply into their nature, rather than trying to get rid of or ignore or throw away this fear, depression, sorrow. These are like a kind of garbage, but these bits of garbage are part of real life, and we must look deeply into their nature. We can practice so as to turn these bits of garbage into flowers. We should not throw anything out. All we have to do is learn the art of composting, of transforming our garbage into flowers. In the practice of Buddhism, we see that all mental formations, including compassion, love, fear, sorrow, and despair, are organic in nature. We do not need to be afraid of any of them, because transformation is always possible. With just a smile and mindful breathing, we can start to transform them. So when we feel these experiences of sorrow, fear, weakness, depression, anger, when we start to feel this kind of garbage coming up in our mind, in our life, we can transform that by embracing that suffering with our awareness, with our mindful breathing. Right? We take the position of a caretaker. And we embrace that suffering, that unpleasantness from a kind of embodied and awake and aware position. Not just this ignoring or distracting or kind of, slowly moving away from it by consuming some kind of media or starting to eat. But actually we kind of take responsibility for that suffering that is there. We look at it, we recognize it, and we take it for a walk. Or we breathe with it, or we stretch with it, or we take it into the shower, right? It's not that one particular thing that we do that's healing it or working with it, but actually it's this art of facing and being with it, instead of just kind of dulling ourselves and not really embracing it. We need to rouse ourselves. When we notice that depression, when we notice that anxiousness, when we notice that a non-practical, complicated thinking, we really need to rouse ourselves, bring up this mind of present moment awareness, and caretake and be with and perceive and look at that garbage, that negative feeling, right? That complicated thinking process that's happening. We need to really be there with it and face it. When we feel fear or irritation or depression, we can recognize their presence and practice the mantras below. So Thich Nhat Hanh, that we are reading from in this book, is going to give us some mantras that we can put into practice when we are dealing with these negative states of mind that come up, this garbage that comes up into our awareness. A mantra is a kind of magic formula that, once uttered, can entirely change a situation. It can change us and it can change others. But this magic formula must be spoken in concentration, with body and mind focused as one. What you say in this state of being becomes a mantra. I share these 4 mantras as supports for the practice of coming back to really be there for ourselves and our loved ones, releasing fear, cultivating true love, and restoring communication. These mantras can be very effective for watering the seeds of happiness in yourself and your beloved, and for transforming fear, suffering, and loneliness. In this teaching and in this style of dealing with suffering, I think it's so worthwhile to look at ourselves from this perspective of the gardener of our mind, the caretaker of our mind. So if we are just we kind of have that responsibility one way or another. Maybe you're a gardener that doesn't step into the garden, doesn't participate in the caretaking, but it's still your garden, right? You're still in subtle ways, acting and interacting with your environment in ways that plant seeds, right? And maybe most of them are just kind of laissez-faire or neutral. You're not really putting energy or responsibility into the seeds that you're planting moment by moment, the mental or physical actions, okay? But regardless, you are the gardener. So if you are just laying around and eating the fruits from other people or from YouTube or the food that's around, you're just kind of consuming all of these outside things, but you're not really getting involved in planting seeds moment by moment. It's going to be quite easy to find yourself in a drought. It's going to be quite easy to find yourself in a place where not only is there not a harvest, so that you're not feeling this this richness to your life or having what you need when you need it in terms of your mind and your experience. But also you don't know how to plant seeds. You don't know how to take care. You don't know how to get involved when things really do get difficult and negative and complicated. But with these mantras, actually we can entirely change a situation. With our concentration, with our present moment awareness, we can transform a situation right there in that moment, just with our attention, just with our presence, our attention and our good intention. So if we want to be happy, we need to water the seeds of happiness. If we want to reduce our depression and our anxiety and our negative ways of thinking and being, okay, we need to notice when that weed pops up and we uproot it. Pull it out. And also, and maybe more so, you just don't water that. We need to learn how to not water the weeds that are popping up in our mind, the anxiousness, the depression, the anger towards ourselves or others, right? The fear. Not to water it, but just because actually to take the weed out implies this kind of effort or force that you are taking the weed out. But actually just being aware of it is enough, because if you're aware of it, you're not going to feed it, you're not going to water it. And this is your garden, this is your sky, this is your earth. So what you water is what grows, and what doesn't get watered doesn't grow. Doesn't mean it won't be there, it won't pop up, but it won't grow, it won't become robust and empowered. A lot of people, and in ourselves, a lot of the time, at least for me, I find myself watering these weeds of anxiety or worry or depression. And then it becomes, it doesn't become a rough day or a rough couple days or a rough week, but it's a rough life now, right? It's an anxious life. It's a depressed life. It's an angry life. So we need to bring that quality of carefulness and present moment awareness to each and every moment of present moment experiencing, to be in the garden and to caretake. And these mantras can be very effective for watering the seeds of happiness in yourself and your beloved, and for transforming fear, suffering, and loneliness. So, the first mantra is the mantra for offering your presence. The most precious gift you can give to the one you love is your true presence. So the first mantra is very simple. And after I say this, you can all say it as well. Dear one, I am here for you. And we can repeat it a few times. Dear one, I am here for you. The magic of this mantra is in our concentration, spoken with concentration, spoken with sincerity, spoken into power, spoken with power, with body and mind focused as one. So there's this real sincerity and this real embodiment here in the present moment. Dear one, I am here for you. We can say this to ourselves, and we should say it to ourselves very deeply and very fully. People who are joining for this kind of this kind of community session and are in this sphere of Thich Nhat Hanh and Buddhism and meditation, it's likely that just this mantra, this kind of way of saying things, is accessible and is workable for us, right? Like, dear one, I am here for you, and to say that towards ourselves. But I noticed that for my nephew, right, my 13-year-old nephew, for me to say that to him that's not necessarily going to be a language that he understands, right? He's not reading Thich Nhat Hanh. He's not a Buddhist. He's listening to NBA Youngboy and NLE Choppa and goodness knows, I mean, they're involved in all these kinds of things. So we kind of embody that. We plant those seeds inside of ourselves, and then those seeds fruit and they come into being in a particular way. And then we can offer that fruit to our loved ones. It doesn't need to be exactly, dear one, I am here for you, but it's Meredith's, dear one, I am here for you. It's Morgan's, dear one, I am here for you. And when we practice like that, a mantra like this, we turn the situation on its head. Because I find when I'm stuck in a sloth, I feel tired and maybe a little anxious, a little fear, something like that. I'm kind of isolated. I'm stuck in myself, right? And I'm just kind of floating along with being stuck in this feeling. So if we can bring up this mantra, if I can bring up this mantra to say, dear one, I am here for you, it totally turns the situation on its head. I'm not alone anymore. I'm actually reaching out and grabbing my own hand and saying, hey, let's get up. Let's do this. Let's take a bath. Or maybe just, I am here for you. And that's enough, right? You're not alone. You're not just sinking in this ocean of self-affliction, self-fixation, worry, complicatedness, this vague, foggy experience. But actually, our mindfulness is there with us. Our true self is there with us, embracing us. And there's no special identity that needs to be behind that. It's just the presence itself, right? It's the loving itself, the caring itself at that moment. So this is a mantra that any of us can try in our life, right? The mantra for offering your presence. The most precious gift you can give to the one you love is your true presence. So the first mantra is very simple. Dear one, I am here for you. In our everyday life, most of us have very little time to cultivate our love. We are all so busy. In the morning while eating breakfast, we don't take time to look at the people we love. We eat very quickly while thinking about other things. And sometimes we even hold a newspaper that blocks out the faces of our loved ones. In the evening when we come home, we are too tired to be able to look at them. When you love someone, the best thing you can offer that person is your presence. How can you love if you are not there? Come back to yourself. Look into his eyes and say, darling, you know something? I'm here for you. You are offering him your presence. You are not preoccupied with the past or the future. You are there for your beloved. You must say this with your body and with your mind at the same time, and then you will see the transformation. Dear one, I am here for you. Just to breathe and to say that and to feel that with our body and mind coming together and with our sincerity is really a joy. And these practices aren't about becoming the perfect person in a perfect situation. It's not about getting into a multi-million-dollar penthouse in New York City. Because you know what's waiting for you up there? Your suffering, your loneliness, your fear, your depression, your anxiety. Doesn't matter how high you go. Doesn't matter how many properties like that you have. What's waiting for you there is your suffering. So just exactly where we are, this mess that we're in, right? This situation that will just not work itself out, will not go our way, the way we want it to go. To offer our presence to ourselves, and if we have a loved one who we can speak to like this, wow, what a joy that is as well. But just to breathe and to be with ourselves and say, dear one, I am here for you. Period. Like a mother holding their newborn child. Dear one, I am here for you. No one else is getting involved. No one else has a comment or commentary about it. There's no discussion. There's no debate. And to embrace ourselves like that is such a joy, such a happiness. Okay, so the second mantra is the mantra for recognizing your beloved. The second mantra is also simple, and you can repeat it after me. Darling, I know you are there, and I am so happy. Darling, I know you are there, and I am so happy. To be there is the first step, and recognizing the presence of the other person is the second step. Because you are fully there, you recognize that the presence of your beloved is something very precious. You embrace your beloved with mindfulness, and they will bloom like a flower. To be loved means, first of all, to be recognized as existing. These first two mantras can bring happiness right away. Even if your beloved is not there in your physical presence, you can use the telephone or email to say to them, "Dear one, I know that you are there, and it makes me very happy." This is real meditation. In this particular meditation, there is love, compassion, joy, and freedom, the four elements of true love as described by the Buddha. And with these mantras and these practices, do not be shy to love yourself. This is the core of the practice. Dear one, I am here for you. I find that when I say these words, and when I say a metta or loving kindness, like may I be happy, or may I be free, or may you be free, may you be safe, if I say it with my mind and body together and with my concentration, it goes where it needs to go. I don't need to think it through. I don't need to, which one's my beloved, but it goes exactly where it needs to go. Darling, I know you are there, and I am so happy. So onward to our third mantra, the mantra for relieving suffering. The third mantra is what you practice when your beloved is suffering. Darling, I know you are suffering. That's why I am here for you. We can all try to repeat this one. Darling, I know you are suffering. That is why I am here for you. Even before you do anything to help, your wholehearted presence already brings some relief. Because when we suffer, we have great need for the presence of the person we love. When we suffer, we have great need for the presence of the person we love. If we are suffering and the person we love ignores us, we suffer more. So what you can do right away is to manifest your true presence to your beloved and say the mantra with all your mindfulness. Dear one, I know that you are suffering. That is why I am here for you. Dear one, I know that you are suffering. That is why I am here for you. And already your loved one will feel better. Your presence is a miracle. Your understanding of their pain is a miracle. And you are able to offer this aspect of your love immediately. Really try to be there for yourself, for life, for the people you love. Recognize the presence of those who live in the same place as you and try to be there when one of them is suffering, because your presence is so precious to this person. This line here is really paramount, really essential to the Buddhist approach of transforming suffering, transforming fear into love, walking the path, but really being involved in this healing. And that is really try to be there for yourself, for life, for the people you love. And we can only truly be there in the here and now, in the present moment, to really show up, to really be here. There is nothing more valuable, there is nothing more precious in a time of suffering for ourselves or for a loved one than our presence, our present moment awareness, our sincere attention. Nothing more precious, more vital, more alive, more healing. We can experience to offer our breathing to ourselves. Offer our present moment awareness, our mindfulness to ourselves in that time of suffering, in that time of difficulty, to our loved one. That is to just breathe and really be there. Really attend. Even when it's difficult. Especially when it's difficult. This final mantra, the fourth mantra, that is the mantra for reaching out to ask for help. The fourth mantra is a little bit more difficult. That is, dear one, I am suffering. Please help. We can all try to practice this mantra one time here. Dear one, I am suffering. Please help. Dear one, I am suffering. Please help. And using these mantras and kind of metta is similar to using mantras like this. Metta is this loving kindness meditation practice where we use our words and our thoughts to generate that feeling of loving friendliness towards ourselves in the present moment. It's explorative. You don't say this and that's the magic formula and it makes you feel that way, but you're kind of exploring this way of being, this way of expressing, this way of showing up. That's you're saying these words with your sincerity, with your concentration, with your mind and body kind of being in the here and now, coming together as one. And as you say it, you're finding out what's it like to speak these kinds of words. to show up in this kind of way. And we may feel that doubt or that like conflict. Well, do I really mean this? Do I really understand this? Is this really legitimate? But you don't feed that kind of energy. Rather, it's to look at and to feel that that empowerment of showing up in this way. Dear one, I am suffering. Please help. Dear one, I am here for you. I know that in myself, I've gotten locked into many times of how other people will perceive my actions or how other people will perceive my thoughts or my way of being, to judge or to say, yeah, that's authentic, that's not authentic, that's real, that's not real, that's legitimate, that's not legitimate. So I can feel that maybe that quality of energy will come into my mind when I'm trying to speak this way, when I'm trying to act that way. Maybe there's the devil on my shoulder or the critic on my shoulder saying, you don't really mean that, or that doesn't really make sense, right? Or what about this? What about this part of yourself, etc. And this practice is not to feed any of that, but to really come home to our authenticity and our sincerity in our present moment awareness, and to express from that place wholeheartedly. And we get to listen to our own heart. Deep listening, compassionate listening, generous listening. We're generous with ourselves at that time. Dear one, I am suffering. Please help. This mantra is for when you are suffering and you believe that your beloved has caused your suffering. If someone else had done the same wrong to you, you would have suffered less. But this is the person you love the most, so you suffer deeply. And the last thing you feel like doing is to ask that person for help. You prefer to go to your room, lock the door, and cry there all alone. So now it is your pride that is the obstacle to reconciliation and healing. According to the teaching of the Buddha, in true love there is no place for pride. When you are suffering like this, you must go to the person you love and ask for his or her or their help. That is true love. Do not let pride keep you apart. You must overcome your pride. You must always go to them. That is what this mantra is for. Practice for yourself first, to bring about oneness of your body and mind before going to the other person to say the fourth mantra. Dear one, I am suffering. Please help. This is very simple, but very hard to do. Okay, maybe we take a moment to share any reflections or questions about these four mantras, this mantra practice. And of course, take a few moments to breathe deeply and let these teachings sink in. Yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
Um, okay. Oh, sorry. My phone's almost. Sorry, I'm not good at technology. So my experience with this, I was meditating on it and just saying the phrase, dear ones, I am here for you. I found myself also saying things like, dear ones, I see you, things like that. And my heart chakra is just like, it's so profound to say such a thing. To just be like, I hear you, I see you. And then after all of that, I can just hear myself saying, like, they may be suffering, you may be suffering. And it's kind of like, dear ones, I see you. We have arrived, we are home. And it's kind of like those dear ones, do not drink my tea. Sorry, my dog. And it's kind of like those dear ones are your loved ones, but it's also like the Buddha, it's also God, it's so many things. And I just find it so profound that I don't know how to describe the feeling. But I think the only thing I can really say is that when you say that from your heart, it's almost like saying, I have arrived, I am home. And it's like you can feel it with everyone around you. I don't know how to describe it, but that's my thoughts on that. My dog wanted to say hi. Sorry, trying. You
Thank you,
want some
Nicole.
tea? Yeah.
I think when I listen to all the different mantras, what comes to mind for me is that to extend that grace to yourself first and embody that first before you can bring it out. Because if you're not doing that for yourself first, I don't think you can really do that sincerely for anybody else. So I think it just really needs to start from here. And I feel like almost like, dear, I'm suffering. Can you help out?
I live like largely by myself, even my work. I don't interact with people for the most part. So I'm practicing these currently, wondering how I can apply them to myself other than, my first thought was visualizing myself like holding my child, the child that I used to be, my inner child. And that last one, dear one, I am suffering, please help. I'm curious how that may look, saying that to myself. solution at this moment, but I did want to share. Thank you.
So let's continue with the section. Begin with yourself. The 4 mantras work to remove fear, doubt, and isolation. They are not complicated or difficult to understand. And you don't have to say them in Sanskrit or Chinese. English will do just fine. You should learn them by heart, and you must have the courage, the wisdom, and the joy to practice them. The practice of mindfulness, of meditation, consists of coming back to ourselves to restore peace and harmony. The energy that enables us to do this is mindfulness, an energy that also carries with it concentration, understanding, and love. If we come back to ourselves to restore peace and harmony, then it will be much easier to help the other person and restore communication in our relationships. Caring for yourself, reestablishing peace in yourself, is the basic condition for helping someone else. You can help another person stop bringing suffering on himself and others. Once you know how to diffuse the bomb in yourself, you will know how to help your friend diffuse the bomb in herself. To be able to help, we need to have at least a little calm, a little joy, a little compassion in us. We get these from practicing mindfulness in everyday life. Mindfulness isn't something we practice only in the meditation hall. We also practice in the kitchen, in the garden, or when we are on the telephone, driving the car or washing the dishes. Being there with what is beautiful and healing inside us and around us is something we should do each day. And it is possible to do this in all our daily activities. This kind of practice is possible to do all the time, every moment. Bring this energy of mindfulness, bring this energy of care. You know, it's like the 13-year-old boy who couldn't stop listening to the rap music or playing the game or being involved in their phone. They need most of all this energy of mindfulness, of care. I am here for you. I'm not going to judge what you're doing. I'm not going to try and control you. I am just here for you, period. I know that you are suffering and I am here for you. Because we're not going to become the perfect version of ourselves, right? This version of ourselves that is completely worth our love or our compassion, because we are already that version of ourselves. That love and that compassion that we want to empower, that understanding that we want to empower, can be applied to any situation, any state, anything, everything. We just need to remember to come home to ourselves, to come home to our true nature, to come home to our mindfulness in the here and now. This can be practiced all day, any activity. The opposite of fear. Continuing with our reading. When I met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1966 during the Vietnam War, one of the things we discussed was the importance of building community, or as we call it in Buddhism, Sangha. Dr. King knew that community building was vital. He was aware that without a community, little could be accomplished. A solid sense of brotherhood, sisterhood, siblinghood gives us strength when we feel despair, fear, and helps sustain our power of love and compassion. Brotherhood and sisterhood can heal, siblinghood can heal and transform our lives. Dr. King spent much of his time building a community that he called the beloved community. Our beloved community, our Sangha, is a group of people who together practice generating mindfulness. Okay, it's an act, it's a practice. We're not consuming something. We're not coming together to go to the Golden Corral. Okay? That's not what's going on here. All right? Our beloved community, our Sangha, is a group of people who together practice generating mindfulness, concentration and insight, a deeper looking. Everyone feels embraced and supported by the collective energy generated by the practice. Often our feelings of loneliness and isolation feed our fears and encourage them to grow. In the Sangha, there are people who are solid enough in the practice that they can sit with us and share their energy of mindfulness. And we can see that and we can feel that. We can experience that. Right? We're not all sitting here, sky high on bliss and pleasure maybe. But we are solid enough. We have enough clarity that we can sit here together and share our energy of mindfulness, our energy of present moment awareness. We can call on them for support. Dear brother, dear sister, I need your presence. I have a big pain, and by myself I cannot embrace it. So please help me. The fullest way, the completest way. No judgment, no right or wrong, no that's bad or I can't handle that, but to fully embrace it. That's the intentionality here. Okay? This big pain, there's a big plan. And that big plan is complete, open-hearted safety, compassion, that wish to end suffering. To have enough solidity and enough clarity to fully embrace that suffering, that confusion, no matter how dark it is, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how scary it is. And our Sangha is a community of people who have the intention to be empowered in such a way, to embrace those sufferings, the power of mindfulness, to embrace those sufferings with our compassion, with awareness itself. Often, our feelings of loneliness and isolation feed our fears and encourage them to grow, or feed our anxiety, feed our depression, and encourage them to grow, our complicated thinking. In the Sangha, there are people who are solid enough in the practice that they can sit with us and share their energy of mindfulness. We can call on them for support. Dear brother, dear sister, I need your presence. I have a big pain, and by myself I cannot embrace it. So please help me. we breathe together, and with our combined energy of mindfulness, we are able to recognize, embrace, and transform that pain. We know we are a part of the Sangha river. We are not isolated drops of water, and we will make it to the ocean together. When there is healing and peace, we know it's a real Sangha. With the support of the Sangha, the practice is easier and life in general becomes much easier. Your family or your group of friends can be your Sangha. It is whatever community supports you. Building a Sangha means building your safety, your support, and your happiness. So let's take a few moments to sit together, breathe together with our Sangha, just to breathe and enjoy and to embrace whatever is there within us. And you may want to try one of the mantras that we got transmitted to us today. Dear one, I am here for you. Dear one, I know you are there, and I am so happy. Dear one, I know you are suffering. That is why I am here for you. Dear one, I am suffering. Please help. So, as an act, as an expression of this deep intention to be there for ourselves and also for others, also for our beloved one, we can end our session together with a few words of metta, loving kindness meditation. So, you're welcome to be in your kind of meditative way of being. And in the same way that we would repeat a mantra, we can repeat these words of loving kindness, starting towards ourselves. So you can repeat after me. You can stay with your breathing and just repeat these words, sending these words, this energy to yourself. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to me. May no difficulty come to me. May no sickness come to me. May I have courage, patience, and open-heartedness. To transform and overcome whatever difficulties may arise. May I have patience, gentleness, and kindness. To overcome and transform any difficulties that may arise. May I be free from suffering. And may my freedom free others. May this path be joyful. May this path be safe. May this path bring freedom to myself and to others. More and more, moment by moment, may I be happy and free. no matter what. May it be so. May it be so. May it truly be so. Okay, we can all bring our hands together in prayer position, and we finish by chanting Sadhu, which means well done, and also may it be. And as we chant Sadhu, we can feel that energy of loving kindness and recognition coming in, and also offering it out to all beings in all directions. May they be free. May they be happy. May they be safe. Okay, my dear friends, thank you all for being here and supporting me and supporting one another to be mindful, to be solid, and to see clearly. Okay? Be happy and be safe. The weekend is more open and flexible, but tomorrow we will have a special guest teacher, my dear friend Kieran, who's a wonderful practitioner, very experienced, and that will be tomorrow at 5 p.m. California time. So that will be at 2 p.m. No, 5 p.m. New York City time. Time zones are really difficult, but if you go to the YouTube, you'll see a video that's set up and you can click on it to be notified. And then also on the Discord, it should automatically adjust to your time zone. And it's tomorrow at 5 p.m. New York City time, and it will be recorded. Okay, bye-bye. Enjoy. And everyone joining on YouTube, thank you all for being here, of course. Take care.